Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. The holidays are here and the sports schedule is packed tighter than Santa's gift bag. Week 15 football games, bowl games, NBA and college hoops, hockey, and a whole lot more. You know that new customers can sign up and bet $5 on any game, and if it wins, you'll win $150 in bonus bets on top of your winning? How do you beat that? That's holiday magic, baby. Not sure where to place your first bet? Hard Rock Bet just launched a brand new For You page, making it easy to find all your favorite teams, players, and leagues all in one place. Plus, the Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, and Michigan. More states coming near you. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos daily. Download the Hard Rock Bet app now and make your first deposit. Daniel Craig returns as Benoit Blanc in Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery with an all-star ensemble cast for his most dangerous case yet. When young priest Judd Duplessis is sent to assist charismatic firebrand Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, it's clear that all is not well in the pews. Written and directed by Ryan Johnson, critics are calling it the sharpest Knives Out movie yet. Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery in select theaters November 26th and on Netflix December 12th. Rated PG-13. What is going on, everybody? How are we doing? Before we dive into anything, I'm John Middlekauff's 3 and Out podcast, live after the Sunday night game, the Kansas City Chiefs, the last dance. It's over. We will dive into it all. But first, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate all you guys that watch after Sunday night, after Monday night, after Thursday night, all of our content. You never want to miss a thing. Subscribe, like the video, share with your friends. We appreciate you. We're like 10K away from 100. So, spread the word. I appreciate everyone that sent me those raps. You guys are still doing it. You guys are sickos. And you guys are my type sicko, so I appreciate you. Talking about a sicko, what you kind of got to be to watch that Sunday night game. Collinsworth orgasming in the booth about form tackles. And there was a lot of that because it was a lot of defense. So we'll dive into the Chiefs, who, officially it's over. They're not making the playoffs. The Texans, 5 straight wins, one of the hottest teams in the league. For those of us that have tickets and parlays with them to win the AFC South, we are still alive. We still got some work to do, but we are alive. That defense is for real. CJ made a couple plays, and D'Amico has the boys playing. Actually, listen, for a season that has had some rough moments for like weeks on end, kind of boring, I thought today was pretty awesome. The morning games with Cincinnati and Buffalo, watching Burrow and Josh, Ravens Steelers, even in a year where they both kind of suck, it's still really entertaining. But that Bears-Packers game was freaking awesome. Sign me up for Bears-Packers actually mattering. We will dive into that. We'll do some rapid fire from, just some stories that the Deshaun Watson story that leaks that he's coming back, and then Shedeur throws a bunch of touchdowns, and the game on the line, they run a trick play. J.J. McCarthy, got to give him some credit. Daniel Jones, looks like that one's over. And some college football stuff that I'll hit on at the end because we now know the 12-team playoff, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish aren't just really mad. They took their football and they went home. They're literally not playing anymore. They declined the bowl invite to play the BYU Fighting Crumble Cookies and said, we're not going to play you. So it's like, nice knowing you, 2025 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Thanks for playing all those shitty teams. We appreciate you. We'll talk about it at the end, but yeah. I guess we'll just start with the Kansas City Chiefs. And, when the Last Dance happened, I think part of the power of that documentary, one, We didn't have much to do at the time. But two, anytime that you see like this Elway documentary that's coming out on Netflix, you see a legendary team, a legendary individual go out on top. It's pretty unreal. But that's usually not the way it goes. I wasn't alive, but my dad once told me that Willie Mays ended his career on the New York Mets, right? No one, when they speak about Tom Brady, talk about that last year where they went 8-9, played the Cowboys on a Monday night wild card game, and lost like 75-0. We talk about Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl in his first year for Tampa, or all the great games he had for the New England Patriots. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs have officially run out of gas. This team's not very good, right? And like, it's over. They're 6-7. They have the same record, let me repeat, as the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to say it again, the Miami Dolphins. That is insane. In fairness to the Miami Dolphins, they're kind of hot. They're actually playing pretty well. I'd be lying if I said I watched any of that game. Didn't even realize it was going on until halftime. Looked up, the Miami Dolphins won by 3 scores, and Tua didn't even throw for 130 yards. So listen, no disrespect to the Miami Dolphins. Give them a lot of respect for battling after an awful start. But this Chiefs team just isn't very good. Defensively, they battled their ass off tonight. But the reality is, of this core group of players, like once upon a time, Brady, they won those Super Bowls, and then they went 10 years between Super Bowls. But when you think about the Brady dynasty, we talk about the 2 different iterations, the one with Vrabel, the one with Brewski, the one with Troy Brown, that group early. And then there's the late one with Devin McCourty, with Dante Hightower, with Edelman, with Gronkowski. We don't really talk that often about like the greatness. I mean, we discussed the team, the 07 Pats, but like Welker, Randy Moss, those guys didn't win anything. Well, I was in the NFL when Randy Moss was on the Patriots, and then he got traded to the Titans. Wes Welker basically got Wally pipped and replaced by Julian Edelman. That happened, and then they transitioned to the next group. Well, Collinsworth mentioned it tonight. Listen, Travis Kelce has had 2 moments that are going to be hard to forget. He had the moment against the Jags that he turns around, comes late, ball picked, the guy goes 99 yards for a touchdown. He has the play tonight where that's what happens when you're old. Like, you're not 30 anymore in your prime. Your margin for error is much smaller. You're not quite as quick. You don't make the plays. He makes that play 100% of the time 4 years ago. 100% of the time. Both those 2 plays are catches. One's a touchdown against the Jags, and the other's a catch against the Texans. Instead, they're interceptions that go the other way. Well, as Collinsworth mentioned, his contract's over after this year. His career with the Kansas City Chiefs is over. Like, he's not going to be on the Kansas City Chiefs next year. The other guy, Chris Jones, who is a little bit of a roller coaster. When you watch him on the right night, like tonight, he's incredible. If you didn't watch the Chiefs all season and you just turned on the game tonight, you would go, that's got to be the best player in the NFL. But he doesn't do that all the time. And I looked at his contract today. He got extended a couple years ago. 24 was guaranteed. 25 was guaranteed. Well, in 2026, partially it's guaranteed because it kicked in at the beginning of this league year. I think it's like $19 million. But his cap hit is enormous. They're obviously not going to cut him because the dead cap is even bigger. Well, what did they do last offseason? They traded Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears, who Andy Reid, after it happened, said, he's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. But it's part of the business. It's part of building a football team in a structure of a salary cap. Do you think I wanted to get rid of this player? Of course not. I did not have a choice. Well, they're not, because they weren't going to extend him. They're not going to give Chris Jones a 4th contract. So to me, Chris Jones, he's not going to be cut. He's definitely not retiring. He's going to be traded this offseason. He's not going to be on the I'd be stunned if he's on the Chiefs next year. And part of transitioning and extending this run is figuring out how to put the pieces of the puzzle with new players over the next couple years. And that's what they have to do. Because this group, as we've known it, this core group of guys that we've seen win all these Super Bowls and play in some of these biggest games, have now kind of flopped this season at 6-7. And listen, you can go, well, Andy Reid went for it this year. Andy Reid went for it on fourth down on that. It was like 4th and 1.5. Does he realize this team's not going anywhere? Like, what am I've won all the. I'm not Ryan Day. I'm not kicking a field goal trying to tie it when I'm the defending champ, and I've fucking done everything I've needed to do. And this game doesn't like. What am I talking about? I'm going for it. I saw people like, how's he doing that? Throwing away the season. Throwing away the season. The season was thrown away weeks ago. And the other simple reality is, I love this guy. I have nothing but respect for him. Knowing people in that organization, from Coach Reid down, the way they have talked about Patrick, the way he operates. Like, as you get older and you find out about people that you don't know, maybe that work in your industry or work around you, or even just like live in your town, and someone's like, yeah, he's just a great guy, man. He's just a really, really high level dude. And his work ethic, how hard he trains, how seriously he takes his craft. Like, the older I get, I respect that much more than like, did you see his highlight play? Like, I saw this clip of DK Metcalf. They put him at gunner on punt. Like, say what you want about DK. He's definitely been underwhelming for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I respect the shit out of that. So I can't have any more respect for Patrick Mahomes. But he hasn't really played that great this year. And there are a lot of players, if they would have just played like he played, would get criticized like hardcore. Like, it would be pretty ugly. Like, it would kind of be relentless. And he makes some awesome plays, especially with his legs. And he's obviously a great competitor, keeping plays alive. But like, his game's kind of up and down. They need him to play better if they're going to flip this thing around moving forward, because their team is going to look dramatically different. And at this point in time, now they showed the schedule toward the end of the game. They're going to be favored in most of these games, and they could still win several of them. But in a weird way, and listen, this is not the NBA. They're not going to tank. They're better off losing out than they are winning out. Because for them to turn this thing around, having a better draft pick, and I don't just mean in the first round, I mean in every round, is the easiest way for next year them to get better players. It is difficult. You can do two things to screw up a draft when you're really good. You can make a bold trade. We have seen teams do that. 49ers did it. You lose a bunch of first-round picks. Hell, the Texans did it when they got Will Anderson. And you just feel at times, like throughout the last couple of years, some of their depth is missing. That's what happens when you're missing picks, right? The Cleveland Browns did it when they traded for Deshaun Watson. Like, you look back, you're like, we're missing 2 or 3 first-rounders because we made an acquisition. And if that acquisition doesn't go right, it can be a big problem. Or just when you draft at the end of the round, it's difficult, right? Listen, when the trade happened on draft night, and the Chiefs traded into the first round for Xavier Worthy, and the Bills traded out for Keon Coleman, we all had a million takes. I'm as guilty as anybody. But going a couple years later, like, yeah, Xavier Worthy's fine. Keon Coleman got benched in the middle of the year, made a play today. Like, these guys are fine. It's harder to hit on wide receiver sometimes at the end of the first round than it is at pick 12, pick 13. You are much more likely to get a better player. So, obviously, this year for the Chiefs, given their standard, given what we think of them, if you would have told anybody at this point in time they'd be 6-7 at the same record as the Miami Dolphins, no one would have believed you. But it happened. And you watch them and it kind of feels right. And one thing, even over the last couple years, I have so many friends there that I enjoy watching the team even when it's ugly. But you hear from a lot of people like they can be a difficult watch at times. Tonight, they weren't the most enjoyable watch. Though, like, in this modern day era of everyone scoring all these points, everyone spreading it out, you know, I'm a sucker for a 13-10 game in the third quarter. I like a game where at any given moment, people can get injured because everyone is getting tackled so hard. Like, I still really respect games like that. I saw people tweeting how the Indiana-Ohio State game was just like, wasn't that great. Like, I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoy. I don't need a game to be Buffalo-Cincinnati to really entertain me. Though, really enjoy that game as well. So I just think the Chiefs, their offensive magic over the last couple of years is clearly gone. Part of that, no one, people hesitate to say it because his resume speaks for itself, but some of that lies on Patrick not playing as well. And listen, they got some older veteran players that aren't as reliable as they once were. Now, Chris Jones was all over the place tonight. He was making CJ run for his life, but they're just out of juice. If you get in your car and you just start driving, eventually you're going to run out of gas. And when you do, you got to refill it. And that's what it feels like the Chiefs at the point in time it is in this operation. Like they need a refill. And the difference is sometimes you get out the gas station, you look around your car, and you got like Gatorade bottles, you got some sunflower seeds, you got shit in the back seat. You're like, I just need to clean out this car. And you just take a bunch of stuff. I try to go to Costco because it got some cheaper gas, throw away a bunch of stuff. It's like a cleansing of my car every time I go to the gas station. And that's what I think the Chiefs need to do this offseason. And we'll see how they end up. I mean, if I was a betting man right now, they'd probably end up, I would guess like 9-8. But if you tell me that they win one of their last 3 games, I do think they will be better off. Now, that's not the way Coach Reed's going to operate. That's not the way these guys are going to play. But I don't think it's crazy the last couple games if you almost just give Patrick, just let Gardner Minshew play some games. It's tough, especially if it becomes pretty clear that Travis is going to retire, which I think we all kind of envision him doing. He's not going to want to just be out there with Gardner Minshew, right? So you kind of want to give him a little send off. But I think we've seen we're basically at the end of the road, as my guys and boys to men would say, when it comes to these 3 guys. And they've had an incredible run. Most people thought when they traded Tyreek Hill, they were, on drugs. Turns out it was one of the smartest moves in the history of the league. They rattled off back-to-back Super Bowls. They were able to kind of replenish, and that's what it feels like they need to do right now, replenish. They're not as potent. I mean, you watch them against the Texans. The Texans have every bit the talent they have, if not more. You would argue on defense, they have more talent. They're just a deeper unit. And offensively, with some of their injuries, like what the hell's the difference? What the hell's the difference between Woody Marks and Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco? I'd probably rather have for the next couple of years Woody Marks, more versatile player, right? You would take Nico Collins, probably over any Chiefs wide receiver. I mean, Rashee Rice pretty good. He didn't have a good game tonight. I think Xavier Worthy's okay. You'd like a little more, but I think at this point in time, he kind of is what he is. He's a fast guy that, kind of catches the ball and goes down. He's not going to run around you, run over you, jump over you. Like he can make some explosive plays and it kind of ends there. So I think they're going to need a new tight end. Obviously they have a stud left tackle who broke his wrist, and he's going to be a big part of the future. Karlaftis, you hope Trent McDuffie's okay. He'll be a part of the future, but they're going to need some reinforcements because they're just out of gas, and they're at the gas station. It's time to fill up, and that's why this offseason is going to be huge. And like you saw last year, I think you will continue to see. And if you go back in the history, of Andy, like they'll make some big moves. Like he's not afraid to kind of mix things up. And this is the type franchise where you're just looking at right now. Like sometimes you go into a home and you go, God, this thing needs a facelift, right? This thing needs a little work. And that's what anyone that's just watched the Chiefs, and we all have because they're on, primetime games, it feels like 80% of the year. It's like they just need, it's like they need a remodel. They need a touch up. And they need their best player to play better. I mean, you're watching Cincinnati Buffalo. I'll probably go into that game later, but you watch those 2 quarterbacks, like they are just better players than Patrick Mahomes right now. They like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are just better players in 2025. I'm not talking about the history of their careers. I'm not talking about 2023. I'm not talking about 2020. I'm talking about right now. Those 2 guys are better than him. They just are. That doesn't mean in a one-off, if they were in the AFC Championship game, they would beat him. But today, and I think Chiefs fans would admit this, if they watch that game as well, those 2 guys are better players right now. And I just think they're going to get a much longer off season. Obviously, you're going to have to look in the mirror a little bit. What can I do to be better? But it is what it is. And they're 6-7, and just a devastating season for a team that, has the highest of hopes in the league. Because you could say the Eagles this year, there just aren't that many teams, even in college. Like, there aren't many teams like Super Bowl or bust, national championships or bust. Like, even Indiana, they're the 1 seed. It is not national championship or bust. They just beat Ohio State to win the Big Ten. If they were to lose in the first round, it would suck. Their first round, which would be the second round. They still beat Ohio State, which is the biggest win in the history of the program by a country mile. So if they got to the Final Four, they beat Ohio State, fucking whole program, all the fans would do cartwheels down the street. The Chiefs, it's like, that's why when everyone's like, how's Andy going for it on fourth down? Because he's not your normal coach. He's been in the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years. Like, he's just like, I'm just going to lean on my best player right now. It's like, we want to play defense, then punt back and get the ball. He's not thinking like that. He's just trying to score right now, get some momentum, get something going. He's not waiting to, like, let's punt the ball back and then hopefully get a stop. And then it's like, no. He's not DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco's trying to get to the playoffs and win a game. DeMeco gets to the playoffs and wins a playoff game. That is a successful season for the Houston Texans. No one would deny that, especially when they start 0-3. If you make it to the playoffs, even if you don't win the division, you're a wild card. You win a playoff game, which would mean you're on the road. You get to the second round. After that, that's incredible. It's a notch on his belt. Chiefs don't get any like extra credit for just like, hey, we're just right into the wild card mix till the last week and we missed it. It's not the way they think, right? Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, some of these guys, they don't think about money like you and I think. Hell, they don't think about money like other rich people think. So they're different levels to the way you look at things. He's not looking at it like an individual game. He's looking at it like that moment, you got to go. I'm sure he's going to get crushed for it, but I would have done the same thing. He's probably tired of watching this team. You can just tell, like, it's like, I want this to end. This is not, we're just off. And now we know, like, they're not going to the playoffs. Just check the AFC. They really, I mean, mathematically not eliminated. They got no shot. I mean, at 7, the Texans are 8-5. So with the Chargers, if the Chargers were to win tomorrow, it basically becomes done because the Texans then and the Jags would both be in. The Bills are obviously going in. The Patriots are going in. The Broncos are going in. Someone has to win between the Steelers and the Ravens. And the Colts are just in a free fall. So, I mean, the Chiefs now are tied with the Ravens at 6-6, the Dolphins are at 6-7, and the Dolphins at 6-7. And that feels about right. None of them are that good, Now, the difference is Chiefs have won a lot before. They got a lot of hardware in their closet. And even the years they didn't win it, they were still in the Super Bowl. So it's like, times have been pretty good for them. But this year, not. And on the flip side, like the Texans, I'll say this big picture about them. And I'm someone that, if Seattle and the Texans win their divisions, your boy can hit some huge parlays. A couple of the biggest parlay I ever hit was when Bryson won the U.S. Open. Paid about $18K, but that's a one-off. If the Texans can, we still got an uphill battle. We're still chasing. We need the Jags to drop, and they beat the hell out of the Indianapolis Colts. But there is no disputing they are one of, if not the hottest team in the NFL right now. And it starts and ends with their defense. Their defense is dominant. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. I have a hard time seeing, especially if, they're not going to get the 1 seed. They'd have to win 3 games just to get to the Super Bowl. Feels a little unlikely. Their offense, they had a stretch tonight where they come out of halftime. They're up, I think the score was 10-7. Let me pull up the box score really quick. It's 10-0 at half, actually. Yeah, because then the Chiefs scored. So at a half, this is how they start the second half. 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt, -4 yards, 2 yards in those 2 drives. So a combined -2 yards. 3-and-out punt for no yards. So after their first 3 possessions in the second half, they combined for a total of -2 yards. Their 4th drive was 3 plays and punt as well. Their 5th drive was 6 plays and 19 yards and then a punt. And then that's when Andy went for it, and then they got it back and scored. The offense at any moment can look inept. When they're playing a really good guy up front, like a guy like Chris Jones, he can feel immediately like one of the greatest players in the history of the league because he's unblockable. And CJ was doing a great job tonight of scrambling around. He actually made some incredible plays. I thought both guys did a pretty good job scrambling around. CJ, I thought, was a little more accurate on some plays. Now, the Chiefs had a bunch of drops as well. but CJ kept a lot of plays alive with his legs, had to. It's just hard to trust that offense. I mean, Woody Marks, they're relying on him a lot. Nick Chubb is kind of a shell of his one self. Obviously, he's injured. Uh, you just don't have much faith in their ability to run the ball. Nico Collins is a really good player. They're going to also rely on some of these younger guys. I think the Iowa State rookie had a big catch tonight, but I have a hard time seeing them win a ton of games in a row because offensively, like you're going to have to score points. But when your defense is this good, and clearly they have a good coaching staff, D'Amico's a stud. They're just a well-run operation at this point. They could beat anyone in an individual situation. So if they're the 7 seed, they can take out the 2 seed. If they're like the 5 or 6 seed and draw the number 1 seed in the second round, they can win that game. They can win any individual game. It's why if they were in the Super Bowl, they could win the Super Bowl because like that defense could take over. All of a sudden, it's 10-10 in the fourth quarter. But I just think it's hard to do that consistently against the best teams in the league to win that many games when your offense isn't playing that well and just not that reliable. Though their quarterback is a good playmaker, it just that defense and this team, there's a physicality to them. I mean, I just thought the overall physicality on that field tonight was a little bit of a throwback. It felt like pre CTE rules. When you just went across the middle and you could just get a concussion, the type where you would shake off and they'd throw you back in, but it would look like you were dead on the field. And like three plays later, you'd be back. There were so many big hits, big tackles. I thought today was just a very physical day in general. And I think part of it is when it gets really cold outside and you start talking about in the teens, what was it, like 17 degrees at kickoff? You're talking, you got to be fucking nuts. I mean, absolutely bananas upstairs to play linebacker, to play safety, and to be able to like trigger downhill when a guy is, 10 yards away about to catch a ball and you see and you break and you go full speed and you don't even think for a second to hesitate. So the level of like contained craziness on the field on some of these high level games today in the weather was just off the charts. Listen, we're never going to have the days of the 80s and the 90s, some of those hit videos that used to pre-internet, they wouldn't go viral, but they would sell because they would be like on the shelves of like biggest hits NFL 1996. Every kid I knew would go into the video store and want their mom or dad to rent it or buy it. Like those days are kind of done, but there is still like some nostalgia for me when I watch these games and I watch guys just get blasted. And that's what the Texans. I mean, the Chiefs matched them tonight. That was a war zone for 60 minutes on an NFL field in Arrowhead. And the Texans, just that mentality, that translates. It always has and always will. So when you have that good of a defense, you got a shot, right? I would take them, like they have a better shot to me to beat anybody than the Jags do. And that's no disrespect for the Jags. Listen, you're 9-4. You beat some good teams. But I just think what the Texans do well translates better in a big game than the Jags. Though, I mean, listen, I respect Liam Cohen. They've done an excellent job. That franchise is a joke, and they're 9-4. Both these two teams actually deserve a lot of credit. I mean, the start the Texans have, they've got to lose some sleep at night knowing, like, God, if we just had won one of those early games or not dropped one of those stupid games, we would be right there. And if we got, home field, if we were able to get like, it's probably going to be hard to get anything else than the 3 seed, given that the Patriots and the Broncos in some order are going to be 1 and 2. But yeah, Chiefs dynasty's over, and the Texans are coming. Before we dive into some other stuff, let me hit on my friends, my partners, in the official ticketing app of this podcast, GameTime. Do you want to go to a game? You want to go to one of these college football playoff games? I know we got people, big Oregon fans. You want to go to Eugene and watch your team mollywop James Madison? Oklahoma, Alabama. That game would be fun in Norman. You want to go to any of these NFL games? We got a month left. Then we got the playoffs. Playoff football games are great. I can't recommend my friends at GameTime enough. They have tickets as low as $100. They have flash deals. The price you see on the app is the price you pay at checkout. There are no hidden fees. It's hard to beat. So take the guesswork out of buying professional football tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app today. Create an account and use code John for $20 off. Terms apply again. Create an account, JOHN. That's my name. $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download the GameTime app today. I thought Bears-Packers that second half was some of the most riveting TV I can remember. That was elite. That was awesome. We have watched some bad football this year. That was not it. I thought there was so much to that game. One, when it looked like the Packers were about to step on their neck early in the game, they're up 14-3. Caleb has like under 40 yards passing. You're just thinking, are the Packers going to roll these guys? Are the Bears kind of sneaky frauds? Then they come out in the second half. It's like, no, we're not sneaky frauds. We're the Chicago freaking Bears led by Ben Johnson. Caleb started scrambling around, making some sweet plays. There's just some like guile and heart to this franchise that simply didn't exist. You know, the way people, like the Packers have been good forever. And there's no team that can go from one of the greatest players of all time to an even better player than him in Rodgers to just Jordan Love, who is like third in the odds right now for MVP. Actually, I think he's fourth, but is still very much alive. Like, you just don't do that. I've seen it twice happen in my life. Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jeff Garcia, Favre, Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. They're always well coached. They're always well built. You know, I didn't bet the game because I'm like, listen, do I think the Packers should win? I do. But I'm not betting against this Bears team. And then you watch that first half, like, maybe they are who I thought they would be. It's like, no. Team has heart. Team has like a physical nature. You know, they have a lot of teams, right? Look, I guess the Lions would be an outlier team that legitimately has two backs. Most good teams, like I'm relying on Derrick Henry. I'm relying on Christian McCaffrey. I'm relying on James Cook, and rightfully so. This is my blue chipper, Saquon Barkley. I'm going to ride this guy like Secretariat. Now, with Manunjai, you got him and Swift. You combine it, like today, I think they combined for almost 150, 120 yards. And anytime that you can run the ball, and this goes to Saturday night with Indiana, that creates a toughness because you practice that. And even if you go off to scout team, eventually you go ones-on-ones in practice. And the physicality of a running game adds to the physicality of a team and adds to the toughness of a team. And to go on the road, like one thing that is not really arguable, Packers team speed on defense is elite. And their physicality, I don't know if all 11 guys you would call like a high-end hitter, but it felt like 9 of the 11 guys will have no hesitation to lower their shoulder and blast you. I mean, their physicality, their team speed, obviously Micah, anytime you have a guy like Myles Garrett or Micah who is so fast in the open field, they feel even that much. Von Miller was like this when he played for Denver. And for Green Bay to be up in the second half, 21-14, and the Bears to get the ball with a little less than like 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter, and basically go on an 18-minute or an 8-minute 17-play drive and score a touchdown, I was like, listen, whether they win or lose this game, this team is no joke. Do I think they'll win the Super Bowl? Probably not, but like this is a legitimate playoff team. And I would argue this about the Bears. I told this to Colin. All the pressure was on the Packers. At Lambeau Field, you make this big trade for Micah Parsons. People like your boy has tickets on them to go to the Super Bowl. Like they were a Super Bowl caliber team. And you're 8-3-1. You have one left. Like you got to win this game. To me, the pressure pie chart for that game was 100% Green Bay, 0 Chicago. Even if Chicago would have ended up losing by a couple touchdowns, like whatever, we got the Browns coming up, then we get them at home. Season's not over by any means. But the way they lost was like, I mean, Caleb literally hit the play that he fucked up on, and he was probably like a step late because tight end was open, and he just didn't pull the trigger right away. It is a tough play. I would also imagine he's pretty gassed. Like, part of it is also the energy that goes into these games, factoring in the cold weather. You know, he's probably not as spry as he realizes that he's not. Like, he doesn't even realize physically what percentage he's at. It's like a video game when a guy starts at 100 and then he's down to like 50% and he's just not moving as quick. Like, I don't even think Caleb probably quite realized because he could make that throw in his sleep. even if he's late with the power of his arm, overthrow it. But I think sometimes the factoring in of a 12-degree game. When's the last time I know he mentioned to Brady, like, I feel comfortable playing in these games. I grew up in this area. Well, yeah, you've been at USC the last couple of years, though. So it's like, last year in Chicago, but you haven't played in that many of these frigid games. And I would also say this about the Midwest. It's colder than D.C. So like, it doesn't get any colder than that little stretch of Kansas City, Chicago, Green Bay. Like, that's as cold as we got. Cleveland today looked frigid. Buffalo. I mean, these places are colder than everywhere else in the country. And it just does affect you. So the more you play, like, Love's pretty comfortable in it. He's lived in Green Bay for how many years now? As a backup, just standing on the sideline forever, then as the starter now for the last, 3 years. Like, you live in Green Bay 6 or 7 years. I don't want to say you ever get used to it, but like, you somewhat become accustomed, like, you're more comfortable in frigid temperatures. Even LaFleur today, there is no amount of money you could have paid me, one, to attend that game. I would have lasted 5 minutes. But if I was a coach in that game, to not have a beanie on. And you look at the Bears coaches, like, they looked a little colder, right? I mean, I've seen Hightower standing there next to Ben Johnson. Like, I respect Ben Johnson. He's got a hat on. LaFleur, just the no cap on his head, to me, is kind of like a muscle flex of a player. Even Micah Parsons. It was the coldest game he'd ever played in. Makes sense, right? Penn State's not that cold. It's cold. It ain't that. And last time I checked, like, Penn State ain't playing home games in December. Playing in Dallas, you're definitely not playing in games like that. I lived in Philly. It doesn't get that cold. Dallas is indoors, right? So I just that game was pretty incredible. Caleb run around, made a bunch of plays. Jordan Love, I thought, was awesome. One major wild card is Christian Watson now. 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games. From bombs to slants to the house, he gives them an element that is just, losing Kraft sucks, but getting him back has kind of balanced the scales a little bit. And listen, some guys are just badasses. Some guys are just in a huge game. I'd want this guy on my side, and Josh Jacobs is one of those guys. For all the shit Mike Mayock's tenure takes, when he was the GM of the Raiders with Gruden, he loved Josh Jacobs, and he drafted him in the first round. And Josh Jacobs is a big-time player. He's such a good, receiver out of the backfield. The play he made on that 3rd down today where they run him, it's like the sweep outside, and he's just corralled. I mean, there's 4 guys. I mean, Barry Sanders could have been in that position. You're like, it's just not going to go your way on this run. It was not your fault. Bad play call against that defense. And what does he do? He kind of stops, breaks through a tackle, breaks through another, and all of a sudden it's like a 15-yard gain. It's like, that's just all talent. It's like, well, yeah, from Alabama. Like, he's got some ability, first rounder. And he was big time today. And that was a game, and so were the other 2 running backs for the Bears. That was awesome. That was, I think, my favorite NFL game so far this season. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic. Maybe I'm overreacting because it just happened today, but I really enjoyed it. Speaking of a game that wasn't as good, was the Steelers and the Ravens. It wasn't bad, but when stories come out, if you do like what I do for a living, a lot of my business is reacting to stories. So you do it long enough, you go, well, what's the point of this story? And when Schefter over the weekend tweets about the status of Tomlin's contract, that, like, he's essentially going into a lame duck year because it has a team option for 2027, and the writing's on the wall that they're probably not going to pick that up. So it's like, they're not going to fire him, but essentially putting out the bat signal, he's available to be traded for. That's the way I took it. Could be wrong, but just trying to read between the lines. I went, whoa, this is kind of crazy. Who knows? Maybe Tomlin's putting that out. Someone is. Like, I think that is coming from some angle of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know where I stood. I love the Ravens in this game. I said, even based on last game, Lamar clearly looks like 50% of his normal self, but Steeler team's leaking oil. It's a problem. Well, I was wrong. Rodgers was really good today. DK Metcalf. Rodgers said after the game in the post-game interview he went out of his way to like hammer home. Like DK this week was unreal in practice. His focus, he was dialed as anyone on our team has been all season long. And the clip has gone viral of DK playing gunner. That was a kind of draw the line in the sand game for the whole franchise. But I do think with the Tomlin thing, Rodgers pushed back after, like, you guys need to shut up. It's like, well, I didn't make up this story. Like the Tomlin thing, it's like, well, you guys are 6-6, kind of circling the drain. You're a big underdog on the road in Baltimore. Stories are breaking about your coach being in a lame duck situation. They're not going to fire him, but they'd probably trade him. Yeah, I mean, I like the Ravens. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I think Lamar looks terrible, and it's not because he's just a bad player. Clearly, he's injured, and not nearly. And I mean, if his speed in this peak was a 10 out of 10, what do you think his speed is right now? Like a 5? I mean, Caleb is dramatically faster running around making plays. It's not even close. There's not really much playmaking to Lamar. There was a run. Who was calling? Was Romo calling that game? Where he breaks a run, and I think it was Romo. That game feels like 17 hours ago at 10:30 at night. And he goes, God, it's rare you see Lamar just get tackled in the open field like that. It's like, well, yeah, because this is not the version of Lamar. So whatever they're playing with, and their defense clearly isn't as good. I mean, the Steelers were cooking them. And even on the one play, I think it was 20-16. It was like, okay, the Ravens are going to get back into this game. Just a pretty basic like play action rollout, dump off to Jalen Warren. He walks in the end zone like 40 yards. What the fuck's going on here, Baltimore? So congrats to the Steelers rallying the troop. That's a massive win. Now the next couple weeks, it's by no means over. They still play each other again. The Ravens next week play the Bengals. Then they got the Patriots. Next week the Steelers playing Monday Night Football, which is actually a sneaky, interesting game now. They play the Dolphins, and then they go on a short week to Detroit. So right now the Steelers are in first place, obviously, but this thing could get weird. Now I also have no trust in the Ravens. Like, do I think the Ravens are just going to go to Cincinnati and win? I think that will be pretty difficult. So that was an outcome today that I didn't see coming. And at one point in time, I mean, the Steelers were up like 20-9. You can tell me about all you want about the yards, but I mean, the Steelers are in full control now. Do I agree with the overturned touchdown call unlikely? Like, I do think we've gotten to a point in basketball and football that, like, we know what a catch is when we see it. Like, that's a catch, that's a touchdown. No different than in basketball when two guys are touching the ball. In the history of the sport, we always knew who it went off on. And now it's like slow play, replay. It actually went off his the extension of his cuticles, this piece of skin that's hanging off. It's like, what are we doing? But it is what it is, and didn't count. And then John Harbaugh, when he kicked the field goal, what was the score? 22-29. I can't even. I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. Let me pull this up because he kicked a field goal late in the game, and it was like, John, what are you doing? It's 27-29, so they're down 8. He's on the 18-yard line, and it's 4th and 8. Now, their offense had been pretty shitty. It was hard to trust Lamar to just pull a play out of his ass like over the last couple of years. To me, if Lamar is playing like MVP status, I think you go for it. You don't even hesitate. I can imagine him kind of weighing it a little bit, but 4th and 8 with 7 minutes to go, you're at the 18-yard line. I don't know. I mean, I think you go for it there, but he kicks the field goal to make it a 5-point game, which is a buddy text me. You just don't see that anymore because the analytics, the front office, the ownership's like, go for it, which I'm cool with now too. Like, let's go for it. And he rolls out. And remember, Harbaugh was at the forefront of the movement. So when you see him roll out the kicker, you're like, Harbaugh kind of going full puss here? Like, yeah, he did. And then obviously that was the final score of the game, 27-22. The Bills were legitimately in major trouble. It was 28-25 Cincinnati, and the Bengals were driving. And it felt like Joe Burrow who just missed the majority of the season, just shows back up. Is like, yeah, I'm just one of the best players in the league. And in a snow game, I'm going to dominate the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to throw, at one point in time, it's like, is this guy going to throw for 5 touchdowns? He's driving them right down the field. You're like, is this how like this Josh Allen, Sean McDermott era is going to end? With Burrow doing it to him in Buffalo? Then Burrow throws the pass. Dude goes the other way, flips like that. Then the very next pass, he throws another pick, and Buffalo's season is legitimately saved. Buffalo wasn't just in major trouble. They felt dead. It felt like he was putting a knife in them and stabbing them over and over again until those 2 plays. And what's crazy is I think Burrow, just like Josh, my takeaway from that game is like, these are the 2 best quarterbacks in the league right now. I'm not talking big picture. I'm not talking over the last 5 years. I'm just saying today in this league, like those 2 guys, the way I just watched, and I've watched football, all these fucking games all season long like I do every year, doesn't get any better than that. And I'd argue Burrow's like, Jesus, this guy looks good. He missed all this time. He just comes back and he's this good with his turf toe. How's this even possible? T. Higgins looks like Calvin Johnson out there. T. Higgins, I'm watching it because I was kind of critical. Like, you're going to invest that much in 2 wide receivers? And then you're watching T. Higgins just moss dudes, make plays. I mean, just make the one-handed touchdown catch at the end of the game, which almost felt like Cincinnati was going to get back in the game. This guy's a beast. And yeah, but those 2 plays, and listen, you can play a great game as a quarterback, but if you throw 2 picks and one of them's a pick 6, like, in a weird way, you kind of lose the game for your team, even though you clearly were the reason your team was winning. But that's the way football goes. It's why coaches, it's why coordinators, it's why players talk about turnovers, turnover margin. We've been hearing it since the beginning of the sport. Turnovers. We got to win the turnover. We cannot turn the ball over. You definitely can't turn the ball over in the second half on the road against a Hall of Fame quarterback. And that's what they did, and it bit them directly in the ass with taking out a chunk of skin. And for a split second, you start doing the math. You're like, did Cincinnati run the table here? Like, I think they could. And then all of a sudden, those 2 passes happen, and you're like, this thing's kind of over. And you're like, well, they're not going to run the table. And the Bills are alive. And that's how fast it happens. Now, big picture with the Bills, you know, like I said with the Texans, you can't win the Super Bowl when your offense is just that unreliable. I would say the same thing with the Bills. You cannot win the Super Bowl when your defense is that unreliable. I don't care if your quarterback on any given game can score 5 or 6 touchdowns in every way possible and just turn into a superhuman player. It's not possible to win games in the playoffs with your defense looking like that. And their defense just isn't good. And I get it, Higgins and Chase, even though I don't even know what Chase's final numbers were today, but their offense with those 2 guys is better than most. But I think we've seen enough of this team to know that they're just not a reliable unit. I mean, Burrow threw for 270 yards, 4 touchdowns. Higgins had 6 for 90. Gesicki had 6 for 80. They actually did a pretty good job on Jamar. He only had 5 for 44. But I just, you watch this unit and they're not talented enough. And it's kind of sad if you're a Bills fan. Now, I think what you hope is just get us in the dance. It's going to be hard for us to win the division. We're going to need the Patriots to blow a game here, and then we're going to have to take them down when we play them. But, like, why can't Josh be superhuman for a couple games? The answer is he can. But your margin for error in these games, even when he's superhuman, is like you need the other quarterback to throw a pick with a guy right in front of his face, which that just doesn't happen that often. Now, in these snowy games, clearly the ball was kind of slipping out of Burrow's hands, and he tried to push it. Don't blame him. I mean, obviously, if he could do it over, he just would have ate it and just hit the ground. But it's easy to say that after the dude's running around, running the other way. Burrow tried to tackle him, and he went right through it. But that game, like, listen, I enjoy, like, the Bears-Packers where every yard matters, every first down is contested. Don't get me wrong. Cincinnati-Buffalo was extremely entertaining. And I will watch 2 great quarterbacks any day of the week and twice on Sundays. But, like, the style of football I prefer is, what we saw in the Bears-Packers game, the physicality. Even Texans-Chiefs, you tell me it's terrible offense, but I like watching people get crushed. I like football for its physicality and its defensive prowess. And that was definitely not taking place in the Bills-Bengal game. Well, let's just go rapid fire on some stories. Listen, I've talked a lot of shit Now, I don't think I've made it up. It's all been based off what we've seen, right? I mean, he hasn't played well. He was being compared to Jamarcus Russell statistically, but he threw 3 touchdowns a day. I kind of stopped paying attention in the second half, but he made a nice pass on like a deep out route. I remember I think they were up like 14-0 and thinking like that's just a high level NFL pass. And we got a long way to go. Washington's not any good. But if you can just build and just have some games where you throw some touchdowns, you make progress, at this point in time, people would be happy. And when I mean people, I mean the fans. Because clearly it had hit a low point. You have a game like today, throw a couple touchdowns, even if your numbers aren't great, 16 to 23 for 160 yards. But you just make some explosive plays. That's all people want. Just have some positive plays. So hat tip to J.J. McCarthy, who kind of found himself on the mat, drug himself up, and had a positive day. Shedeur, he made the Judy pass today, and I understand Judy beats the coverage and is open, but in a game in the elements, to drive that pass was like, Dylan Gabriel doesn't do this. He made a beautiful touchdown pass to Njoku in the corner of the end zone. He had an awful interception as well that kind of scrambled around and just threw it up in the middle of the field. But one thing he has clearly given them is just explosive plays. And at this point in time, I haven't seen any Stefanski's quotes after the game. I know social media is just absolutely destroying him for the 2-point play at the end of the game to try to tie it, where he ran like a what would it be considered, a wildcat end around, I guess, that Junkins never gives up the ball. Though if he had, it would have scored. But I think people, rightfully so, is like, why are we outthinking the room here? Your quarterback's making plays. Just let him keep it. Granted, if Shedeur hadn't played in that game, I know for myself and most of you listening, unless you're a Browns or Titans fan, wouldn't have watched 1 second of that thing. Cam Ward is kind of a disaster. I mean, the Titans are a disaster. Place a nightmare. The Browns are even a bigger disaster. I mean, for a team that gets talked about a lot, holy shit, do they always lose. I mean, they just lose every single week. If I hear one more time how good their players are, how much talent they have, well, then what's wrong? Is Stefanski, who all I hear is get a job immediately? He will? Team 3-10. He just lost to the Titans at home. I mean, lost to the Titans at home. They have a player with 20 sacks. Their quarterback threw 3 touchdowns today. They lost to the Titans. I mean, listen, nice guy, met him once, cool to me in the brief interaction, but I think we got to acknowledge, like, Stefanski, if he got fired, he'd get a job immediately. He would. The other fan base would be fired up for that one. If we did like the college role reversal, not sure about that one. The story that came out this weekend was a little weird with Deshaun Watson. I haven't quite. Not that I spent that much time thinking about it, but why would everyone, the rap sheets and the Schefters, be putting out that not only is Watson coming back, which financially, like, they are in a predicament. They gave the guy hundreds of millions of dollars guaranteed. So you can't just cut him and eat this enormous dead cap. The UFL wouldn't trade for him. But, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, you can't bring him back. I saw someone that covers the NFL is like, if you did bring him back and make him your starting quarterback, that would be the worst decision in the history of the league. And I was like, yeah, I kind of agree. He never even played like Shedeur. I mean, did he ever have one game in his Browns career that he threw for 360 yards and 3 touchdowns? I don't think he did. So, I mean, he looked objectively terrible. Now he's coming off an Achilles. You're going to bring him back? Something was fishy with that story. I didn't spend that much time trying to figure out the angle. Like, who's benefiting from this? Are the Browns trying to mess with Shedeur? Like, why would they do that? Is Mogetta trying to put pressure on the Browns? I can't even, it's hard to even figure out, where does this thing even start? Who even has this idea to, like, we want Deshaun Watson back? But it happened and it was a story. Another story was Daniel Jones tore his Achilles today. And, I threw out on the Everything app, X, that shocking that a guy with a broken leg got injured. I respect his toughness, but you think someone would have stepped up like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. And then you just seen these people. It's his other leg, and it's a non-contact Achilles. Guys, when you have an injury, think of basketball players. Klay Thompson tore his ACL. What did he do the next year when he was playing pickup? Before he'd even fully rehabbed the ACL, he tore his Achilles. It happens to a lot of explosive athletes, like Derrick Rose did it all the time, because you overcompensate on one side of your body for the other side, and it creates an injury. What do you think happened over the last several weeks when you are playing on a broken leg? Do you think, and listen, I'm no body, understanding the equilibrium of the movements, of the mechanisms of all your joints and everything, but if you tell me you have a broken leg, the pressure of your steps, especially if you're playing something like football and driving off stuff and pedaling into 3, 5, 7-step drops, rolling out, you're probably putting a different amount of pressure than you normally would with a non-broken leg. So again, no doctor, just went to a couple California state schools. Shout out Cal Poly, his new coach, Tim Skipper, who's getting introduced on Monday morning. Fired up for you, buddy. But you can't tell me that didn't play somewhat of a part into this whole thing. Do I think his Achilles injury is just completely random? I don't. I think that the broken leg, them throwing him out there, was just, listen, the Colts would have been screwed if he had torn his Achilles or he had not. They were going to lose that game no matter what. But now this disaster, like, they're not winning another game. They got, Anthony Richardson. I looked up and Riley Leonard's out there, the Notre Dame quarterback, and I'm thinking, where's Anthony Richardson? And it turns out he's still on injured reserve. Obviously, Sauce Gardner is injured. This thing is a mess, an absolute mess. And while the Jets did lose today by multiple touchdowns, anytime you have other teams' first-round picks, they probably got a lot of joy out of seeing the Cowboys lose and out of seeing the Colts lose. And there's a decent chance at 8-5, the Colts finish 8-9. We've been going now for a while, and it's pretty late, but so I'll get more into this throughout the week. My two things on college football are this. First, I'm a small school guy. I didn't go to Oregon. I didn't go to USC. I didn't go to Texas. I went to fucking Cal Poly. We're D1 AA. And then after that, I went to Fresno State, which is obviously not a Power 4 school and considered the group of 5. So don't get me wrong. I have a lot of respect, and I worked with a program at Cal Poly, and obviously I worked at Fresno State. I have a ton of respect for people at those levels. I've worked in the NFL. People take football just as seriously when I was at Fresno State as they did in the NFL. They work similar hours. Players train as hard. Everyone cares. But there is a different level of talent. And I think one big part of the conversation today with college football was Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami. Miami beat Notre Dame. Alabama's not as good. All that shit. And I think that was the conversation was like, I think they tell you this a lot sometimes with politics, when these crazy stories, they're trying to get you to look over here instead of just see what's actually going on. And I felt like that what was kind of happening with college football today. It's like, guys, are you looking at the 12 teams? Do you see number 11 and 12? There are, regardless the order or how good is this team or is Alabama, I know those 10 teams have nothing in common with those teams 11 and 12. Why are we having a college football playoff and inviting the little guy? They do not belong. And a simple fix for this is Division I AA. Where I grew up, Davis, California, is UC Davis. It's a school. They're now in the Elite Eight. They're hosting the Elite Eight game this weekend against like Rhode Island. They play the D1 AA playoffs, the division that North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and Montana State have dominated forever, right? They have their own playoffs. They start like 2 weeks ago, and they play another couple weeks. It's just their own little division. They play each other. Why can't we do that with the other two levels? The Power 4, ACC, SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12. And those teams, right? So instead of Tulane and JMU, it just would have been Notre Dame and Texas, right? Because, and then the Power 5 would have Boise States, JMU's, Tulane's, whoever the 12 best or 16 best teams. and just do it that way. Because the entire issue, and I mentioned this to Coward, I do think when they originally set it up, they didn't want to get sued if they did not give them an automatic seat at the table, right? Because they basically just said the highest rated power or power five. It's even fucking hard to say. It's D1AA. It's its own thing. It's like Tulane has nothing in common with any. We saw them play Ole Miss. They lost 45-10. And I was texting with a buddy in the NFL that knows John Summerall very well and loves him, thinks he's really good. I watched them play on Friday night. They're pretty good. They should be in this tournament. JMU has as much business in this tournament as me and you do. What are we doing? They're a 21.5-point underdog at Oregon. If Oregon tries, they could lose by 50. Their head coach, when they fly back to James Madison, will not even get on the plane because he's going to UCLA. And I think this whole thing could have been avoided. I don't blame them, the situation they're in, but moving forward, they shouldn't be included. I know we're big on equality and giving everyone a seat at the table. Not in this world. There's a reason we, judge Costco and Walmart different than like the local mini mart. I can buy a hot dog and beer at both. We don't discuss them the same financially. Like, what are we talking about? And I also think the Notre Dame thing, I'll get into the Notre Dame, Miami prize. I'm sure we'll be asked about as the week goes on. But I'm going to end on this. I get they're very emotional, and they think ESPN messed with them. They're a huge brand. They're kind of like the Cowboys or the Lakers. But to decline the bowl game against BYU, I get it if you're an athletic department, like the AD, your university's making so much money. You're like, you don't need. But from a football standpoint, if Marcus Freeman was like 100% hand in hand, arm in arm, on board with this decision and didn't push back anymore, I've lost a lot of respect. Because a huge part of the bowl week is one, even if the Jeremiah Loves of the team don't play in the bowl game, who cares? You can play freshmen who haven't played because you don't burn your redshirt year. You get extra practices leading up to the bowl week. This notion I've heard, well, they want to get ready for the portal. You can do both at the same time, especially if it's kind of a throwaway game, just working on your younger players. There is not a coach I've ever been around that would give up practices and the opportunity to rep it on the field. They got left out. Yeah, it happened. It fucking sucks. And we saw what happened to Florida State. They've never recovered 2 years later. Now, Notre Dame's not going to be in that position. But to throw away, especially, I would somewhat get it if you told me they were playing like San Diego State or something, which they never would. They always play a good opponent. But to utilize that time to just, you're going to have new starters next year. And I would imagine several are already on the roster, young players that don't start now. You could just start them in that game against a program, BYU, that I promise you will take it really seriously. It's an incredible time to it's almost like a pseudo spring game. But they let their emotions, they let this situation, I would say, cloud their judgment and make an awful decision. And it's usually why coaches after a game, when they go to the press conference, take 20 minutes, take some deep breaths before you go talk to the press. Help, slam a beer, right? But sometimes if you're in an argument with your wife, someone you work with, sometimes it helps, hey, let's just sleep on it. Let's just take a deep breath. And I think Notre Dame should have done that. Because they declined this, and they've known all week that, hey, if we do get, denied from the playoff, what are we going to do? So if you tell me and I'm sure Bruce Feldman or someone's going to write this story, that they made this decision a couple days ago, I think they're fucking idiots. And I'm not talking about being like crybabies and all that stuff. Yeah, obviously that's true. But just from an on the field to improve at your craft, something that you guys haven't won a national championship. Hell, you were close last year. Clearly weren't close enough this year. But this is pretty valuable. There are strict rules how often you can practice, how often you can play, what you can do in the spring. You're given an incredible opportunity to get more reps, even if you're pissed off. And they chose not to do it. And I just think it's kind of arrogant, pompous. They kind of live in their own little world. We all know some of those people. It's have they lost touch with reality? And you'd be like, well, John, other schools did it. Well, yeah, some of them don't have coaches. Iowa State just lost their coach like 2 days ago. They just hired a guy from Washington State. Like maybe they don't even know like what the hell's going on. I'd argue they should do it too. Same thing, Kansas State. I don't even know what their record was, but if it was bowl eligible, I think I read they declined it too. I would never decline it. I never would, no matter how complicated it is. But especially a Notre Dame situation where it's not like they get a new coach. It's not like they get new players. Like, yeah, they're pissed off. It sucks. But to decline the bowl invite? Say this about Florida State. When they went 13-0 and were denied. 13-0. Now, I thought it was justified because of their quarterback situation. They still went to the fucking bowl. Now, they got the brakes beat in by Georgia, but they still tried. Like, what a joke, right? Like, what's Notre Dame's argument? Well, we just got toyed by ESPN. Like, you were given the chance in Miami, you lost the game. It'd be one thing if they had won that game and got left out. I'd argue if Miami had been left out and they did this, I'd be like, I kind of understand. Like, they actually won the game. Like, what's the point of the games? Notre Dame does not have the right to do that, to make that argument. And I think just quitting on the bowl as a team, as a program, I get it as individuals. Hell, I get it as coaches. But I don't understand it from a program standpoint about improving. I mean, how many like 4- and 5-star guys do they have on their roster that just could benefit from the reps? And Marcus Freeman and Bavakwa, the AD, is like, yeah, we'll just quit here December 7th and we'll see you August 31st. Cool, guys. Adios. Oh, yeah. Well, before we get out of here, I always forget this. I said I was going to go quick, and we're an hour in. Let me just pull this up really quick. I think I'm going tomorrow. Harbaugh home dog. We'll see. I mean, it's a little risky because of Herbert's physical situation and his, how bad is it? Does it look like Rodgers? I guess we'll find out on Monday night. But I'm taking the Chargers money line, and my two. I'm going to go a little anytime parlay. Listen, this has got A.J. Brown scoring a touchdown written. You got Sirianni in the meetings, pounding the table, getting more vocal. I got A.J. Brown scoring a touchdown written all over this game. And the Chargers' first-round running back, O'Marion Hampton, is back. Harbaugh likes to run the ball. Jalen Carter is out. I like, especially now, Herbert with the broken hand. You're not going to do like quarterback sneaks by the goal line. So I'm going to go Chargers to win, A.J. Brown anytime touchdown, and Hampton anytime touchdown. Pays a little 10-1. Friends of Hard Rock Bet. Have a great night. Adios.